You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Thinking Logically, the first episode of Pride Month. It's your host, Euphigenia Doubtfire here. Happy Pride Month, boys and girls. Would you like me to drop another gender, dear? Non-binary, there it is. Would you like another gender? Pansexual, there you go, sweet dear. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, with us in studio wearing assless chaps and a mesh t-shirt is our producer, Ryan. Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad that you noticed the assless chaps. That was the very first thing that I thought of. Great you guys noticed.
Wasn't until you turned around. Okay, and joining us via phone from Allegheny County, it's our dear friend, Mr. Gordy. Mark, how are things?
Joseph, Ryan, things are getting spicy here in Allegheny County. I know we're going to get into this later in the episode, but mostly peaceful Allegheny County is not so much peaceful anymore as we saw over the weekend at the Cathedral of Learning. So, but happy Pride Month, and let's get into this. Let's get into this episode. Can't wait.
Speaking of Pride, this month I want our viewers to reflect back the last 4 years and ask yourself: are you currently proud of the country you live in? Are you proud of our values? Are you proud of how our government works for us? Are you proud of our border security? Are you proud of the pier that was built for $320 million? Does something like that make you proud? Also remember, pride is a cardinal sin. But for some reason, we dedicate an entire month every year to just that, pride. I don't understand why we need to have this stuff shoved down our throats for an entire month every year, especially with the parades. You know, throughout history, we used to only have parades when something was accomplished or something great was achieved, like when we won World War II, or in latter years when your team won a major sports championship, I guess. Now we have parades to celebrate what gender you choose or who you choose to have intercourse with. And I'm not against gays or lesbians. I just think dedicating an entire month to who you prefer to have relations with is the dumbest thing on planet Earth. The birth of our nation gets one day. One day. Our veterans get one day. One single day. But LGBTQ plus gets an entire month. Maybe I'm just jealous because they get the best month in the year. I mean, June. You get the best of spring and the best of summer. Who does the scheduling with these months? And look, I'm not going to deny the fact that gays and lesbians had to fight for fair treatment in this country. 50 years ago, it wasn't necessarily illegal to be gay. However, even in places like New York City, gay clubs, they were broken up. People were arrested, beaten by police. But then they fought back, peacefully for the most part, like Gandhi. In the end, they won. And then our government killed them by releasing AIDS, of course. Shout out Dr. Fauci, who we'll get to later. But for real, the gay community was smart enough to realize that they lived in a free country. And what two consenting adults do in their own home behind closed doors is nobody's business. So props to you for standing up for yourselves many, many years ago. A lot of Americans cannot say they did the same the last 3 years. They let government and popular opinion walk all over them, from COVID till today. Where would the gay community be today if they had acted a half a century ago, like some of you have acted the last 3? So maybe in the next 50 years, us so-called conspiracy theorists will get our own month to celebrate being right about virtually everything. Oh man, imagine them parades. Imagine the COVID parades. All maskless, of course. January 6th parades, this one minus all the undercover feds. Maybe even a Russiagate parade. I won't hold my breath for that. But speaking of Russiagate, let's get into our first topic here. The Trump hush money trial will go to sentencing in mid-July. I believe it's July 11th, Mark. Am I right or am I wrong on that?
July 11th is the sentencing date, Joe. And let's talk about this. I was visibly shaken up Thursday. And some of you, who know my story, I was a lifelong Democrat, even through, 2020, mid-2020. And then, thanks to you and other people, I started to see the light and had an epiphany and became MAGA around April, May of 2020. And I used to dislike Donald Trump as the president. Now I was so upset Thursday at this verdict that I was not the same on this radio show on Thursday. I couldn't even barely talk. I couldn't put together any thoughts. I was just completely shook. I was sick for President Trump. I was sick for this country in the situation in the state of our nation right now. We're now convicting former presidents on some trivial charges that no one else, has ever been charged on. I mean, we just saw over the last couple of days them talking about Hillary Clinton, with her campaign finance ordeal, with the Russiagate Steele dossier, and she was fined. So was Barack Obama over some violations he had as well. So let's talk about what happened on Thursday. This was in about 24 hours from the verdict. Donald Trump had raised over $52 million. He's also getting a $100 million donation from Marianne Adelson, who is the wife of Sheldon Adelson. She's the principal stakeholder of the Dallas Mavericks and obviously a very wealthy billionaire. But he has raised $200 million. $200 million since this verdict. And that's great news. That's great news for President Trump. He was at the UFC fight Saturday night in New Jersey. He got a unbelievable ovation when he came in. I just love seeing Trump come in to the arena, to American Badass, and him and Dana White walking out. So let's talk about what is next for President Trump. What are the odds he goes to jail? Joe, do you think President Trump goes to jail?
Okay, if you're asking me to war game it out, I'm going to say they're going to definitely try to put him in jail. I think on appeal, they'll let him maybe do house arrest, but no, I said they have to put him in jail. They can't let him have house arrest. I would say at least a year or two they'll try to shoot for sentencing-wise. They'll try to get that. That puts him out of commission. But will they let him stay on house arrest while it's on appeal? That is the question here. And he's still gagged until July 11th. So it's not like it's like nothing has changed. He still can't really campaign. He has to be careful what he says. He can be fined for what he says. I do think they're gonna try to send him to jail, though. I have this gut feeling that they're gonna try, because they have to. They can't give him house arrest. What does that say? What does that say about these extremely troubling, as they called it, charges? He tried to steal an election. That's what he's being charged for. So I think they have no choice but to try to throw him in jail. And it's crazy because if you remember, even some of the CNN analysts, or MSNBC too, said this case was completely bogus. Kaneko the Great Mark on X put out a good tweet. I mean, it's like 15 points. I'll go through a few of them real quick. CNN legal analyst describes how the Trump conviction was a political hit job. The judge donated money in plain violation of a rule prohibiting New York judges from making political donations to a pro-Biden, anti-Trump political operation. Alvin Bragg boasted on the campaign trail in an overwhelmingly Democrat county, it is a fact that I have sued Trump over 100 times. The DA charged against Trump pushed the outer boundaries of the law of due process. The charges against Trump were obscure and nearly entirely unprecedented. In fact, no state prosecutor in New York or Wyoming or anywhere has ever charged federal election laws as a direct or predicate state crime against anyone for anything ever. None. The DA inflated misdemeanors. The key respects, the charges against Trump aren't just unusual. They're crafted individually for the former president and nobody else. I mean, it's called a zombie case because various legal infirmities, including its bizarre charging mechanism, but it's better characterized as a Frankenstein case, cobbled together with ill-fitting parts to an ugly, awkward, but more or less functional contraption that just might ultimately turn on its creator. We've heard this on and on and on.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk about, I have some results from a YouGov poll here. This is from the from the leading report. Trust in the judicial system after the conviction of former President Trump dropped among independents by 4 points, while Republicans dropped by 17 points, according to a new YouGov poll. So people are waking up to the fact that if this could happen to President Trump, this could happen to anyone. Anyone. And I think this verdict is going to resonate a lot with the black community and the minority community because they see someone who has been wronged by the judicial system in President Trump. And I think this is going to resonate a lot with folks who have been wrongly targeted by the judicial system as well. All right, let's call a spade, and let's say that is, you know, we could say that's pretty much accurate. This is also from George Washington University law professor Jonathan Turley. This is, as of in the last hour, suggests that the higher courts will likely strike down the guilty verdict against former President Donald Trump. I personally don't see how this verdict can be sustained. I was in the courtroom, and I was shocked by how the court was ruling, and I would hope that eventually, maybe not initially, but eventually an appeal will prevail and the verdict will be thrown out. So that's from Jonathan Turley, George Washington University law professor. Joe, what's the next step here? All right, so he appeals it to the appellate court of New York. I don't know what the New York court system's like. Remember, these are state charges, not federal charges, so he has to go through the state judicial system next, right, Joe? He goes to the appeal court, and then what, New York Supreme Court? If he doesn't win at the appellate court?
It's going to take time. It's going to take time, and I'll remember Judge Engeron from the, what was the E. Jean Carroll case? That was another one he lost. He tried to appeal that one. Then there was the Mar-a-Lago one. This isn't going to be over. They're going to try to get him. Expect the worst. Don't, because you're going to be disappointed. They're going to try to do whatever they can to keep him off the ballot. That's what it's all been about, keeping him off the ballot in 2024, or, again, to just embarrass him so bad that he wants to drop out, or to try and they're trying to throw him in jail for 100 years here. They're fining him hundreds of millions of dollars. And now look, what's he facing? 70 years or something?
I think he's going to get probably 6 months to a year in Rikers Island. He should be out on appeal. And who knows how long this appeal process is going to take. I truly believe that they don't care about the appeal process. I truly believe they just wanted the conviction so they could go out there for their marketing and advertising to say Trump is a convicted felon. They want that label on him to use that against him. Now, we see some polling came out, and it seems like it's basically like a wash. You know, Biden got maybe a small bump, if anything. Trump didn't get much of a bump at all. I just don't see how this is good for Trump in the long, now we're in the long run. Although, he did raise $200 million. So I think that these polls will correct themselves eventually, and I think things will start to straighten out again in a few weeks. But the fact that they could use this now against him to say he's a convicted felon is what they wanted all along. And I don't think he'll see any time in prison. Joe, what about Benny Thompson, the chairperson for the January committee, the Unselect Committee? He initiated a bill in Congress stating that convicted felons don't get Secret Service protection. How sick are these people, Joe? You want to strip him of Secret Service protection in Rikers Island if he goes there because he's a convicted felon. These people are sick, man. I'm telling you, there's something wrong with the Democrats and liberals. This is not normal.
Yeah, I don't see how they could take Secret Service protection away from a former president. He didn't kill anyone. He didn't bomb Iraq for 8 years or Afghanistan for over a decade. He didn't drone strike an entire family of Afghanis while they were trying to flee Kabul. It's a bookkeeping error, and he might go to jail for a year or longer and might lose everything and can't run for president. It's amazing. Wow. So if you want to take this, whatever they do, the boomerang is going to come back and hit them on the back of the head so hard, and they're going to regret it. Before we move on, I have to bring up this article from Politico. I'll just read you the headline. This reluctant prosecutor just made Donald Trump a felon. And then the community notes went to town. This guy campaigned on prosecuting former President Trump. He was not reluctant. And I can read it over and over again. They're talking about Alvin Bragg. In December of 2021, the next Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg Jr., says he plans to personally focus on the high-profile probe into former President Donald Trump's business practices. And they had to change laws and rules around to go after him. But he was reluctant, wasn't he, Mark?
Yeah, very reluctant to go after Donald Trump. How about, Joe, Jamal Bowman? Speaking of Alvin Bragg, Jamal Bowman, our favorite congressman who pulled the fire alarm, former high school principal, mind you, is now claiming that it is racist to criticize Alvin Bragg. for what he did in his role in this.
There's criticizing and there's pointing out what's wrong with the issue. Trump just trying to point out what's wrong. He never attacked the jury. He never attacked anyone. He just wanted to point out facts. Apparently, though, in America, you can't do that, even if you're a former president. Before we move on to our break, Mark, I want to talk about Trump promising. He had that interview. Honestly, I didn't get a chance to watch it, but he said he will declassify the 9/11 files, declassify the JFK files, and declassify the Epstein files. All I got to say is, why didn't he do this in his first term? I mean, make a pledge to do it in your first 100 days. Do it the first week or the first 100 days. I got to call a spade a spade. I can't 100% trust that he'll do this, Mark. That's just one strike against Trump.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing with Trump. He's not a perfect, but he's our guy, but he's not perfect. And he should have did that in the first term. I think that's what makes him so dangerous now in the second term in the eyes of the Democrats, is that he is going to do all these things. He is going to follow up and correct all the mistakes he made his first 4 years in the White House. So I know we're going to go to a break show, but I have a tweet from Elon Musk, and I know you're going to like this, from 3 days ago. The prescriptions of Marius led to the prescriptions of Sulla.
Okay, when we return, hey, at least Trump was mentally competent enough to stand trial, unlike Joe Biden, who, according to Robert Hur, isn't. When we return, though, Merrick Garland made those Robert Hur, Joe Biden tapes classified at the highest level. Why? We'll talk about it when we return. You're listening to Thinking Logically on 99.3 WBVP.
On May 25th of 1948, Beaver County Radio started broadcasting live from 7th Avenue in Beaver Falls. Fast forward 75 years to June 16th of 2023, and Beaver County Radio is now broadcasting live from the all-new Beaver County Radio Studios in Brighton Township.
Are you ready to rumble? For the 33rd year in a row, the Main Dragon Beaver Falls will come alive on Saturday, June 8th with a loud roar and vibrant colors that can mean only one thing. It's the annual Beaver Falls Car Cruise. Make plans to witness the 15-block cruise lane, vehicle display, and food vendors on 7th Avenue in Beaver Falls from 11 to 7 on Saturday, June 8th, rain or shine. The free event is presented in part by Deal Ford Kia, Eddie Isabella State Farm Insurance, 99.3 FM WBVP and 95.7 FM The Beaver, and Duquesne Light. Additional support is provided by Beaver Falls Health Mart Pharmacy, Kenya Johns for State Representative, Auto Body Products, PPG and Tri-County Management McDonald's, among others. Shine up the hot rod, because the second Saturday in June always means the Beaver Falls Car Cruise.
Hey guys, it's Joe from Thinking Logically here to tell you about a company I've been using since I got my learner's permit. Grossi & Associates. Using their state-of-the-art equipment, Grossi & Associates offers collision repair for all makes and models, both foreign and domestic. There's a reason why they are voted Best of the Valley year in and year out. They are the collision experts. Grossi & Associates. Call today for a free estimate.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 WBVP. Before the break, we were talking about Trump's sentencing hearing, and now we're going to talk about a guy that has no hearing and can't complete a sentence, and that's Joe Biden. So, over the weekend, I believe it was, or Friday, Attorney General Merrick Garland has classified, at the highest level, mind you, the audio tapes of President Biden's interview with Special Counsel Robert Hur. Apparently, the tapes are locked away in a SCIF. Now, audience, why in the world would he do that? I mean, there are transcripts anyway, right? Oh, that's right. Because it came out right before Merrick Garland did that the White House altered the transcript it gave to Congress. This is from Kyle Becker on X. Breaking. The White House has admitted in federal court that it altered the transcript of Joe Biden's testimony to the special counsel in order for him to appear less incompetent, according to GOP oversight. Release the tapes. And this is from Paul Sperry. Attorney General Merrick Garland has classified at the highest level the audio tapes of Biden's embarrassingly incoherent interview with special counsel Hur over 2 days. And he has locked the tapes away in a sensitive compartmented information facility, also known as a SCIF. Mark, how bad do you think that Joe Biden actually sounds, and why does nobody care? I mean, this guy is supposedly supposed to be in charge of the nuclear codes. And isn't altering a document like this illegal, right? There's got to be something here.
Help me understand how this isn't bigger news. Like, Ryan, Joe, I mean, how is this not all over the news cycle? They altered transcripts from the president of the United States. If you listen to Dan Bongino, who's talked about this on the show today, actually, what is on these tapes? How bad is it? So, according to Dan Bongino, he believes that President Biden stumbled upon the pivotal questions regarding the intent. Like, why were the documents in your garage? Why did you even have documents? You weren't the president. How did you come into possession of these documents? We need to get these tapes. Now, just like someone leaked out the Roe versus Wade ruling 2 years ago, Joe.
That's a good point.
The Supreme Court. Let's leak this out.
That's a
We
good
need
point.
a Patriot to leak these tapes out because we need to hear what's on these tapes. I think what's on these tapes would be so incriminating to Biden that it probably wouldn't even get brought up in the news because it would just completely bury him. Not only would it be incriminating, what would he sound like on these tapes, too? We already know that they altered the transcript. What does he sound like on this audio? It's got to be really bad for them to go to the lengths they did.
If you remember, Mark, he was asked, or it came out somehow that Robert Hur asked him about his son Beau's death and that Biden couldn't remember. And then Biden made a speech basically yelling at Robert Hur saying, how dare he ask me that? Then it came out in the transcript that Biden was the one that brought it up. Robert Hur never asked about Beau Biden's date of death. We gotta hear the tapes. I don't understand why one side plays by one rules. I mean, I do understand why, and one side has to play by another rules. The GOP needs to get their stuff together. What are they going to do? Send more harsh language words in letter form to someone? Do something.
Send more letters. Yeah.
More letters. Yeah. This Biden family. This is going to be the whole segment. Let's move on to his son, who is on trial for a federal gun crime. They want to talk about convicted felon in the media. Let's do that. So the media wants to blast out the convicted felon catchphrase for Trump over and over again. But how are they going to report on this in the coming weeks? Hunter Biden was seen Saturday or Sunday wearing an official White House shirt with the number 46 on it, while with Pop, a.k.a. Joey Baby, a.k.a. the president. Remember, Hunter Biden is on federal trial for falsifying a firearm background check, which to some of you anti-gun nuts should be a big deal. Especially when, after purchasing the firearm, he threw it in a trash receptacle near a school, mind you, with the admitted help of Haley Biden, his girlfriend / sister-in-law, who, what are the odds, Joe Biden visited at her residence last week and is now adjusting his schedule as president of the United States to stay in the locality where the trial is taking place. I mean, Joe Biden even walked Hunter into court this morning. This family is absolute trash. Let me read you this tweet on X from Mays Moore. Joe Biden's son cheated on his wife with countless prostitutes. Then he cheated on his wife with his dead brother's widow. Then he cheated on his dead brother's widow with her sister. Then his brother's widow begged him to stay away from his niece because of his inappropriate behavior. Then he impregnated a stripper and denied the child was his during the next engagement. Just a reminder before Biden gives us his weekly speech on decency and the media tells us how great this family is. Mark, this family, trash? I mean,
trash. I mean, absolute trash, Joe. I mean, there is nothing good about and redeeming about the Biden crime family. And we're going to see a book here, a tell-all memoir coming out. It's actually dropping during the week of the Democratic National Convention, and it's written by London Roberts. And who is London Roberts, you might ask? Hunter Biden's baby mama, the mother of his estranged daughter, Navy Joan Roberts, Navy Joan Biden, I guess. So the book's called Out of the Shadows, My Life Inside the Wild World of Hunter Biden. It's going to be released on August 20th. So we're going to get a glimpse inside of this world a little bit and to see what her life is like. This trial, I mean, we're going to see what kind of publicity it gets in the media as well. Let's just go back to, I want to talk about just the DOJ. I mean, you said Biden's staying in the same locality of this trial. I mean, what is he? Is this some sort of intimidation tactic? Let's not forget the number 3 person in the Biden DOJ, Matthew Colangelo, took a lesser position in the New York District Attorney's Office to prosecute President Trump. All right, let's not forget about that. So we're going to see what kind of punishment the DOJ doles out on Hunter Biden. Is it going to get jail time? Is it going to be guilty, not guilty? Who knows? We're going to find out. As to the same standard here as President Trump, but we'll see. Going to be good. Jury selection list today, by the way. So things should start picking up here in the next week or so.
I want to remind our audience, because we're going to cover this story pretty good, but I want to remind our audience that like it starts now, but it's just jury selection. This is from KK Bird on X. On October 23rd, 2018, President Joe Biden's son Hunter and daughter-in-law Haley were involved in a bizarre incident in which Haley took Hunter's gun and threw it in the trash can behind a grocery store near school, only to later return and find it gone. Delaware police began investigating, concerned that the trash can was across from a high school and that the missing gun could be used in a crime, according to law enforcement. But the curious thing happened at the time. Secret Service agents approached the owner of the store where Hunter bought the gun and asked to take the paperwork involving the sale, according to 2 people, one of whom has firsthand knowledge of the episode, and the other was briefed by a Secret Service agent after the fact. The gun store owner refused to supply the paperwork, suspecting that the Secret Service officers wanted to hide Hunter's ownership of the missing gun in case it were to be involved in a crime, the 2 people said. The owner, Robert Palmieri, later turned over the papers to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, which oversees federal gun laws. The Secret Service declined to answer a question on whether it had information or informal involvement in Biden's security during this period. Asked whether Secret Service requested state police security for Biden during the period when he was not under the agency's protection, a Delaware State Police spokesman said, "I have reached out to our sergeant who oversees the Executive Protection Unit with the Delaware State Police. He is unaware of any such request or services provided." Mark, did the Secret Service cover up this crime too? Do they have a hand in it? This is going to be a very good trial. It's better. Is it going to be better than the Trump trial? Is it your opinion?
It might be. It depends on what information gets out of the courtroom. I imagine that we're going to hear everything that comes out of this courtroom. There's going to be people there that want to report on all these facts. So I think we're going to hear everything from this trial, Joe. But we need to fight, not we, the Republicans, I should say, need to fight fire with fire. That's the only way the Democrats are going to respond to this type of lawfare against President Trump. So it could start here with the Hunter Biden trial, but the Republicans need to start playing hardball with this stuff. I mean, or else the Democrats are going to continue to trample all over everyone until they have majority rule forever. So, yeah, I can't wait to see the coverage that comes out about this. I know we're going to be covering it heavy, I'm sure, over the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, let's get the ball rolling with this trial. Okay,
for anyone that's following it, that wants to follow it on X, Twitter, whatever you call it now, follow the account Marco Polo. It'll have a yellow check mark by it. It's Marco Polo, I think, 501c3, at Marco Polo 501c3. They have an excellent thread on this trial. It's going to be there the whole time. Their first post on the thread is a picture of Hunter Biden holding a firearm, completely naked. It's blotched out the indecent parts, but look up this picture if you want. His trigger discipline is awful because he has his hand right on the trigger, and it says, "Tomorrow morning, the smartest man in the United States the smartest man that the U.S. president knows from a pure intellectual capacity is going on trial. We will be there. We'll use this as a thread." And I guess this happened yesterday. Hunter Biden's slimy D.C. lawyer objected to an inclusion of a video of Joe's son Hunter smoking crack naked. This is going to be a really good one, honestly.
I hope the prosecution comes in with all of this stuff, Joe. Let's not forget, as you stated, Hunter Biden hooked up with his dead brother's wife, his sister-in-law. And then after he was done with her, he went on to her sister. And then he impregnated a stripper. Joe, I have to say, back in the fall of 2020, the Hunter Biden laptop story, when that came out, when the 51 intelligence officer said this was Russian disinformation, there was a poll that was out that said that if this was actually came out as legitimate back then, this would have affected the way they voted back in 2020. Would this be something that would affect Biden? I don't know.
Go back to 2020. Was that election interference? Because that's all we've been hearing about in 2024, election interference. It sounds like them 51 intel officers committed election interference by lying.
Kash Patel wants President Trump to strip their security clearances if he gets back into the White House. I love that idea.
All right. We got to take a break in about a minute or two here. I want to get to another Biden corruption issue. Newly released, this is from A Muse on X. Newly released emails obtained by a Freedom of Information Act request show that Secretary of State John Kerry's Director of Policy Planning, David McKean, arranged for money to be wired from his wife's bank account to Hunter Biden's Rosemont Seneca partners in 2015. At the time, Kerry's stepson, Christopher Hines, shout out Heinz Field, held a minority interest in Rosemont. Shortly after McKean was appointed as the United States ambassador to Luxembourg, the previous version of this post has an I don't have to read that. Mark, what is going on in our government?
It's amazing how many people were actually in bed with Hunter Biden.
It's all the sons. It's all the sons.
Yeah.
It's I mean the bagman. The bagman. It's amazing.
Well, this is from Rasmussen reports you have here from believe John Durham.
Yes.
Obama and Biden sat in this August 3rd, 2016 Situation Room briefing and said, let's let the highest officials in our administration fabricate criminal evidence to frame the opposing party's presidential candidate, Donald Trump. Pure treason. So that goes back to Director John Brennan, Norm Eisen, the architect of this lawfare against President Trump. Hunter Biden he is so intertwined with all of this just slimy, swampy D.C. type of stuff. So we're going to see if it comes crashing down on him or not.
All right. When we return, though, the only thing that may contain more crimes than Hunter Biden's laptop, Mark, Dr. Fauci's Gmail account? Okay, Dr. Fauci was back on Capitol Hill testifying about COVID. We still have no idea where the virus came from, but we're going to talk all about that when we return here to Thinking Logically on 99.3 WBVP. You know, when Joe Biden shuffles in front of the cameras to answer scripted questions during the day, he lies like Don King. But what you don't know is, when he goes to sleep at night, he lies like an Egyptian king because he uses MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Grown only in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River, its long staple cotton makes it ultra soft and breathable. Use the promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings on this amazing product. It's Joe Corsi here from Thinking Logically to tell you about Beaver County's #1 realtor, Mark Gullah with RE/MAX Select Realty. With over 10 years experience, Mark knows all the ins and outs of the real estate business, so whether you're looking to rent, buy, sell, or swap your house, you can rely on Mark to take the hassle out. Mark Gullah of RE/MAX Select Realty, going above and beyond. Cash for your house. PGHbuyers.com. If you have an unwanted house but don't want the hassle of selling, visit PGHbuyers.com to see if PGHbuyers.com can help. No inspections and a fair cash offer. Visit PGHbuyers.com to sell that unwanted property for a fair price today. It's Joe again from Thinking Logically, here to tell you about one of my favorite clothing items, the MyPillow hoodie. Two things I love the most about this hoodie are how it fits and how it feels. This hoodie is extremely roomy, and its terry cloth material makes it lighter than any other hoodie I own. Use promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings. The MyPillow hoodie. Get yours today.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically on 99.3 WBVP, brought to you by Mitchell's Jewelers. Remember, it takes an enormous amount of pressure to make a diamond. So why should you put yourself under any pressure when buying one? Don't. Go to Mitchell's Jewelers, where the choice is as clear as their diamonds. Mitchell's Jewelers, located at 2454 Mill Street in Aliquippa, PA. That's 2454 Mill Street in Aliquippa, PA. All right, Mark, Fauci was back on the stand today, but I think last night Republicans released the complete transcripts of their January interview with Fauci, or maybe it was Saturday, I don't even know. And those transcripts, Mark, were even worse than I suspected. Let me give you a rundown of it. For one, Fauci confessed that he made up the COVID rules, including the 6 feet social distancing and the masking of kids, and that he, under oath, admitted he forced children to wear masks for pretty much no reason. And I just have to say, the 6-foot rule wasn't based in science. The 6-foot rule was the whole thing. That's what killed this country. That's what stopped people from going to work. They get a call, hey, we have a couple COVID cases in your county. Shut it down. No one could go to work. The 6-foot rule shut down and killed small businesses in this country. The 6-foot rule kept kids out of school. Mark, why isn't he in handcuffs already?
Because we have a bunch of soft people in Congress. I mean, that they're unwilling to do anything to anyone of any significance unless your name is Donald Trump. That's why. I
have to say, I listened to, you probably listened to more of the hearing than I did. I didn't feel like it was great for the Republicans. I feel like it was just a lot of repetition. Marjorie Taylor Greene was good. That was all I saw. But it wasn't great for the Republicans.
No, it wasn't. I mean, Fauci deflected and basically, avoided answering a lot of the questions as per usual and gaslit when he could. But, I didn't catch I watched probably a little bit of it today, not a whole lot. But, it's Marjorie Taylor Greene went nuclear. She refused to call him Dr. Fauci. She called him Mr. Fauci, which resulted in a stoppage of the entire hearing, and they had to lecture her on decorum and things like that. But, this was, the whole social distancing thing, was made up, the mask wearing. He kept saying, well, this is in context to this, in context of that. Then they talked about the royalties that NIH scientists made, $710 million, I believe, Joe. Is that correct?
$710 million made in royalties, and they were trying to hide it.
Yes, and they asked Dr. Fauci what he got in royalties, and he said he got $120 last year in royalties from some treatment he came up with like over 20 years ago. So
that's crazy because 97. Didn't they say 97% of all the royalties went to Fauci's NIAID organization, but he only got $120 somehow.
Who knows? Who knows what he got put in a bank account in the Bahamas somewhere.
I got to say it again. 260 NIAID scientists got, on average, $2.65 million in royalties. That's on average. That means the average of the 260, some got more, some got less. I guarantee you zero got $120. And if it was zero, it definitely wasn't Fauci.
Yeah. And then he refused to admit that he used the private email. This is from Zero Hedge. We very much hope Anthony Fauci will discuss this email referencing COVID as a bioweapon. So, I mean, a lot of this goes back and forth. He's talking about Tedros here from the WHO here in this email. He's using a private email, obviously. And he says, to the best of my recollection, I've never conducted official business on my private email account. And he said that under oath. So it's, Joe, I mean, everyone's just tired. Everyone's tired of hearing the testimony, tired of nothing happening, tired of being gaslit by people like Tony Fauci and a lot of these other people. Clandestine, put on X, Fauci perjured himself. Fauci claims that he kept an open mind in regard to the lab leak theory. And it says here are the NIH emails confirming that that's a lie. From April 16, 2020, Director Francis Collins emails Fauci about how to put down this very destructive conspiracy. Fauci responds, I will not do anything about this right now. It is a shiny object that will go away with time. Yet in the testimony today, I was watching when he said this. He said he's kept an open mind about this the entire time, and he really didn't say that this came from a lab. And they really pressed him on this. I believe it was Jim Jordan that was really questioning him on this. Obviously, the Republicans, Jim Jordan, Marjorie Taylor Greene, a couple other Republicans, Ronnie Jackson got him pretty good. But people were just tired of it, Joe. People were tired of being gaslit, and this process goes over and over again. Nothing happens. So I don't know. We live in a, Joe, I think we live in a system of government that I don't want to say it needs blown up and start over, but you look at the state of our country, the state of our nation, and things that go on. I don't know, Joe. I don't know where we're going to be 5-10 years from now.
I just hate the hypocrisy because where's the media? It came out, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I believe, was the one that exposed this, and we knew about this for a year or two. Fauci and the Beagles. He was torturing beagles. He was literally tying them down, putting their heads in front of, what was it, flea-infested areas or something, and they were eating. I don't want to be graphic because I love animals, but I just want our audience to remember when the story broke out about a certain governor named Kristi Noem that shot her dog. This is worse. This is animal torture, and it's using our money. We paid for this, Mark. Me and you and Ryan paid to torture beagles, and Fauci oversaw it.
Yeah, they asked him about this today.
Ryan's throwing up in a trash can in the corner over here.
Yeah, he deflected on this question today. I know they definitely asked him about it. So,
did anyone ask about the biolabs in Ukraine that definitely weren't there?
I'm not sure. We're going to hear a lot more testimony tomorrow. I'm sure the audio is going to come out. We're going to see a lot more audio tomorrow on all the accounts we follow. But
all right,
yeah. This was something today. Yeah, keep going. Well, I have something else after you're done.
Do you want to? Are you going to talk about the censored doctor?
No, I'm going to say we had a comment from a listener here on Facebook. It says if they don't find Hunter Biden guilty, you may be seeing Trump supporters protesting and causing problems.
Nope, do not do that. Just remember, we'll talk about it. Just remember, come election time, when you go out and cause problems, that gives them the excuse to say, "Hey, look, these are Trump MAGA crazy people." We'll find a way to fight, and we'll fight by mocking it. You just have to pay attention and go out and debate. In 1776, 300 years ago, we started a revolution with pubs. They didn't have social media. They had pubs, and they went out and they talked about what was going on, the taxes, the unfairness. That's all we need to do. We just need to make it a mainstream topic so everyone's on the same page and everyone knows what's going on. Right. All right, so there was that censored doctor during the pandemic. Oh, man, what was his name? I can't find his name. He said, Dr. Fauci, you become Dr. Fear. Americans do not hate science. The American people hate having their freedoms taken from them. You inspired and created fear through mask mandates, school closures, and vaccine mandates that have destroyed the American people's trust in our public health institutions. This fear you created will continue to have ripple effects from generations to come. Quite frankly, you said, if you disagree with me, you disagree with the science. Dr. Fauci, I disagree with you because I disagree with fear. And I forget the guy's name, but he was the one from California, I think, that was censored and was threatened to have his law license taken away for saying I can't remember if it was the social distancing or the mask mandates were ineffective. I can't remember what it was, to be honest with you. But I just want our audience to just remember all the things that we were lied to about 4 years ago. Ivermectin, it's just horse-paste. Lockdowns work. Natural immunity doesn't. Masks do. The fatality rate is crazy. It's like 3 or 4%. The vax, it stops transmission. It stops you from getting the COVID. It doesn't. Vaccine mandates, they're to protect others. Where's the origin of the virus, Mark? Where did COVID start? We don't have anything. So don't be surprised that person on Facebook. Don't be surprised if, just like Hunter Biden, Fauci skates too. Just make sure as a voter you're paying attention to all this. That's all. All right, we got to cover mass amnesty here. We got about 3 minutes, Mark, and then we got to move to a break. Did you see this story about the 2 police officers in New York City? Oh, first of all, we'll get that in a second. But while Trump was being tried in a political weaponized kangaroo court case, the Biden administration terminated 350,000 asylum cases, which grants them, I guess, mass amnesty. I don't know. All these migrants.
How does that work?
I guess all the migrants had their immigration court cases dismissed. Under Biden's presidency, these are facts here, 77% of migrants who claim asylum have been allowed to stay in the United States. 77%. Case dismissed, everyone. Great news. Now get these gentlemen a driver's license or some kind of photo ID and send them a mail-in ballot immediately, today. Imagine coming here from really anywhere, who knows, and just getting auto amnesty. Like that's not even an exaggeration. Their cases were dismissed. Also, they're here illegally, Mark, and we have no idea who they are. And that leads us to the next story with the two police officers getting killed by a Venezuelan migrant.
Yeah, where was that? New York City?
I believe it was New York City, and I believe they were housed in one of them migrant shelters that we heard so much about. Yeah, two New York Police Department officers were shot last night by a Venezuelan who's in our country illegally. He entered our country illegally in 2023 and was released into the country by the Biden administration. He's been staying at a taxpayer-funded migrant shelter in New York. I don't even know what to say. Like I said at the beginning, are you proud of the country you live in right now? Are you proud of what's going on?
Well, this is from CBS News, Joe, earlier today. Biden executive order restricting asylum processing along U.S. border expected on Tuesday. So now, Joe, when he said he didn't have the power to do this, all of a sudden now,
it's a good point.
Tomorrow we're going to see an executive order signed.
Because he didn't get the
How
money.
does that work?
He wanted power, and he didn't have the power. He needed money. Now all of a sudden he doesn't need money. He has the power. Why? Why now? That's a great point. Why?
Yeah, let me read part of this article here. It says, the sweeping move is expected to allow U.S. immigration officials to quickly deport migrants who enter the U.S. illegally without processing their asylum claims when border crossings, this is the caveat, surpass a certain threshold. It would rely on presidential authority known as 212F, which gained infamy during the Trump administration when it was used to enact several immigration restrictions, including the so-called travel ban. So how this is going to work is now, after tomorrow, this will be triggered after I believe migrants hit a number of 2,500 a day, I believe.
It's a great number.
And anyone after that comes in after that will be deported. So what happens after that? Do they get sent back to the border? Do they come in the next day? Are they part of the first wave to come in the following day? So they're going to allow a certain number to enter the United States every day, and that number is going to be, I believe, 2,500.
I want to audit the guy that has the clicker. It's counting in all 2,500. I want to make sure he's counting them right. You know.
Yep, like a pitch coach in the dugout.
That's right.
Click, click, click.
All right, we got to take a break. When you have anything else? Go ahead.
No, that's all. I just, all of a sudden now that he wants to sign an executive order because he's getting killed on the border. So
like the band Snap, he has the power. All of a sudden, he has the power. Okay, when we return, Bob Menendez is now an independent. Okay, are Republicans about to take control of the Senate in the middle of an election year? Stay tuned. We'll talk about it when we return here to Thinking Logically on 99.3 WBVP.
Hey guys, it's Joe from Thinking Logically here to tell you about a company I've been using since I got my learner's permit. Grossi & Associates. Using their state-of-the-art equipment, Grossi & Associates offers collision repair for all makes and models, both foreign and domestic. There's a reason why they are voted Best of the Valley year in and year out. They are the collision experts. Grossi & Associates. Call today for a free estimate.
You're listening to Beaver County Radio, coming to you live from the Fried Transportation Studios. Beaver County Radio and Fried Transportation, a winning team. 99.3 FM and WBVP, providing news, sports, and information for 76 years.
Falling in love is one thing. Having anxiety about falling is a whole different subject. If you or a family member are concerned about falling, and yes, either up or down the stairs, or maybe even out of bed, St. Barnabas has a special message and some ideas just for you. Years of experience in working with people who are prone to falls has given St. Barnabas special expertise in this area. Call them at 724-443-0700 and learn about ways that you can begin to
to feel more confident and safe, including suggestions that you can implement right now into your daily routine. Call St. Barnabas at 724-443-0700. For many years now, St. Barnabas has been helping people fall in love, that is, with their new, better life, a longer life, a risk-free life. Call St. Barnabas now at 724-443-0700 or visit stbarnabashealthsystem.com and learn more about living longer and better.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 WBVP. We're going to get into Bob Menendez and him running apparently as an independent now. But first, we got to touch on a story you brought up a couple weeks ago. Mark, did you see GameStonk? Again, was up 88 or something or 90 something percent in the pre-market. I think it finished only up about like 29%. But supposedly Roaring Kitty, the same guy as last time, revealed that he currently owns 5 million shares of GameStop as well as 120,000 call options. Mark, he's about to be a billionaire if this stock stays above $20 a share for the next couple weeks or month. He already has the fifth largest shareholder of GME in the world.
This is your area of expertise. I know this was the first time he posted on Reddit in like 3 years today.
Yeah, and he posted his shares, and people were saying like he's manipulating the market. But I love how like someone will go on and talk to Jim Cramer about like what stock they buy or what stock you should own, and then everyone rushes and buys it, and that's not considered manipulation. But this guy just posting what he owns. I mean, he can lose everything. GameStop could go to zero. He's just posting what he owns. How is that manipulating the market? It's manipulated anyway. It's all a big casino. But did you see they halted GameStop because it was going parabolic, and then all of a sudden, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway went down 99.9% from like $600,000 a share to $185, and then that was halted, and I guess it went back up to like what it was. I don't know if it was a glitch or what. Is GameStop possibly gonna crash the stock market with all these hedge funds that are shorted on it? It's something that we have to take serious and pay attention to, I guess.
Yeah, it was like when my Coinbase account went to zero one day, So.
Oh, remember when it went to like 6 billion? I think XRP was like
when
5.
Ripple.
Yeah. My wife asked me, I said, I don't know, Kings, I think it's for real. I said, I don't know, it might be for real. It's not. That's why I'm here. All right, let's move on. Speaking of tons of money, Bob Menendez, the guy that was paid in gold bars, not cash, not dollars, not fiat money, gold bars. Maybe we'll trade him in for some GameStop. I don't know, but he's changing his party affiliation not from Democrat to Republican, from Democrat to Independent. Mark, what does this do to the Senate count now?
So this is actually, Joe, I had to look this up. He did not file as a Democrat in the primary. Okay, so another Democrat is running in his seat. So now you have a Democrat and a Republican running for a Senate in New Jersey. He's running as an independent. So the Democrat running is Representative Andy Kim. And so, no, I thought for a second that the Senate would flip to Republican control, but it's actually Bob Menendez is just running as an independent in New Jersey, because he said initially that he wasn't going to run again for the Senate, but then he changed his mind and is not running as an independent. So we'll see how that shakes out. Could be interesting.
Yeah, again, he blamed his wife for the gold bars, I think. I wonder what's going to happen with these gold bars, but I don't know. Maybe he wasn't playing ball, and that's why the Democrats went after him. I don't know. All right. Let's move on to a topic that affects both of us greatly, Mark. This could be the most important, probably is the most important topic we covered today, for at least me and you. Miss Rachel, our children's beloved, most popular media personality. So Miss Rachel, I don't have a problem necessarily with her endorsing Pride Month. I just won't watch those episodes with my son, I guess. But Miss Rachel has invited, of all people, Dylan Mulvaney, the trans activist, to join her kids' programming. Are we at the stage where we're just inviting crazy people on a children's show and just letting them give their point of view? Now, meanwhile, saying masks were, not effective and the vaccine might not work was crazy talk. But a guy that all of a sudden says, hey, one day, you know what? I'm not a man, I'm a woman. That's not crazy. I don't know. He was on The Price is Right he was on The Price is Right as a gay man years ago, and then I don't know if he just wanted fame and fortune, and that's why he's doing all this. But he's the same personality he was on The Price is Right 10 years ago. If you watch the video, I'm sorry, Miss Rachel. Why?
Go woke, go broke. We're done with Miss Rachel in our house. That's all I could say. We're on a Sesame Street. By the way, Sesame Street had Joe Biden on. That was an older episode I watched, but I wasn't real happy with Joe Biden on Sesame Street. Anyways,
she's a great teacher. Dr. Joe Biden. You mean Dr. Joe Biden, the infamous, the famous teacher, the educator?
Yeah. Hey, Joe. Before we talk about Pittsburgh, how about what happened in Mexico?
The election, first female president. Hillary Clinton's probably so mad.
Mexico elected its first female and Jewish president, radical leftist Claudia Sheinbaum. Ashkenazi Jew grandparents, activist, feminist, and socialist, champions of the LGBTQ, 2IA+, big-time climate change freak, tons of scandals.
You realize
how many happened in Mexico?
You realize how many more people are going to come here from Mexico now? Oh, no.
One of the most Catholic religious countries on planet Earth.
And she's a climate person, right? I think she's a pretty big climate person.
Yeah, so it's that climate change freak.
The only thing I can say is we can't admit that the Mexican elections are probably, kind of shady. We got 5 minutes left. Mexican elections are definitely shady. Can't say that about this country, but in Mexico, who knows what happened. All right, our final story of the day, the Cathedral of Learning, Mark. What the heck is going on there?
They said in our intro today, not mostly peaceful Allegheny County anymore. Something happened over the weekend, apparently last night or the day before, where protesters basically quickly converged on the Cathedral of Learning in the University of Pittsburgh. Everyone knows about the cathedral. This is now these encampments, these protests, fizzled out about a month ago, and now apparently they're back. And this time, it looks like they're a little bit more angry, Joe, than they were a month ago. They have a list of demands here that they released. Joe, how much difference are these protesters going to make in the situation in Gaza?
Well, I mean, they could if Biden cared at all. He doesn't. So, I mean, I guess you can make the argument that they could. But so, yeah, it's zero. Negative, maybe. It might be negative.
Yeah, negative. So I'm not going to read all these demands. These are the demands that the protesters have released. And then once all the demands are met, they will break up their encampment. Disclose all university investments, divest Pitt finances from Israeli apartheid, genocide, and occupation in Palestine. Terminate all research partnerships with complicit companies now and in the future. Reject the normalization of ties with the Zionist regime. Ban speakers from campus who come to justify or normalize crimes against humanity or promote hate speech. I mean, this goes on and on and on. I mean, they have all these demands. Support Palestinians and the Palestinian academics. Joe, the police, what is going to happen, Joe? You cannot pacify these people, and you cannot try to appease these people. You need to use force, and you need to arrest people, and you need to break this up immediately and stop dancing around with these people. Joe, what do you think?
You have to show that you are in control, or else you're going to have, I don't want to say a Kent State, but you're going to have a travesty. You have to show that you're in control. And there's one thing with peaceful but let me read this article. One of our listeners just sent it to us. About 8:40 p.m., police detained an individual who was attempting to bring water and food to the protesters. Sounds innocent, right? Chuck Finder, Pitt Senior Director of Media Relations, said a police officer was struck by a protester during that altercation. The protester was arrested by university police. That person was not affiliated with the university, Finder said. Donald Johnson, 33, of Pittsburgh, was charged with aggravated assault, resisting arrest, and obstruction. Again, they're not even students. They're not even students. Who are they being paid by, and why?
Right. That was one of the things I thought. Who are they being paid by? Who initiated this again? This is from Colin Dunlap from KDK Radio. The protesters are the most delusional people in the world. The Pitt police gave them the quote-unquote find-out portion of the equation. Good. Arrest these. They're calling for an intifada, Joe, which is a genocide of the Jews. So arrest these people, send them to prison, use force, and use the rule of law against these people and end this.
If you want to protest like we said earlier, like Gandhi, you got to do it peacefully. I understand people are being killed and stuff. I understand. And I want to know what happened on October 7th, how Hamas was just able to waltz in there across the most secure border in the world and start killing Israelis and making it the worst massacre of Israel's Jews since the Holocaust. I'd love to know how. But again, we can't have violence in this country, especially on our campuses. That's all. All right, we got 1 minute left, Mark. What do you want to close out with here?
Joe, great show. Thank you to our producer, Ryan. Thank you to our sponsors. I wanted to finish with our boy Scott Presler here on X. He posted some great news here for Pennsylvania. Although this election hinges on Pennsylvania. Let me be the first to report to you that in the last 3 weeks, Democrats had a net loss of 10,654 voters statewide in Pennsylvania. This is earth-shattering. So this all hinges on Pennsylvania. And great news. Keep up the good work, Scott Presler, and we'll see you guys on Thursday.
All right, Ryan, anything you want to add in before the break or before we're out of here?
No, great show, guys. Keep it up, man.
All right, we'll be doing this all month for Pride. Thank you very much. We'll be back on Thursday, Thinking Logically, 5 to 6 p.m. Make sure you tune in. You're not going to want to miss this. Thank you very much. I'm Joe Corsa. You're listening to 99.3 WBVP.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas.